What's up, peeps? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jen, and you've made it over to Copper Cactus DIY. This is my home for all things furniture art, faux finishing, and decorative painting. And in today's video, I am tackling 6 or 7 projects in my house that are things that I need to either fix or finish. So if you like videos like this, then just stick around because I'm getting started right now. We'll fix that. The first project I tackled is Mr. CC DIY's dresser. I painted and faux finished this a while ago, but the inside edge was still partly visible, which drove me bonkers. But I learned how easy it was to remove these drawers and put them back in when I did my dresser for the life of a show flipper. So I knew I had to fix his. I used the same leftover paint and I did 2 coats along the outside edge of all the inside edges of the drawer openings. I hope that makes sense. And I did 1 coat on the inside of those inside edge openings. That part won't be visible, so it doesn't have to be perfect. The front edge does. I removed the remaining drawers and touched up 2 coats, waiting about an hour between. I did most of the first and all of the second coat off camera. Then it came time to tackle our bed. When we moved across the country, the other things that we had leaning up against our bed in the moving truck gouged way into the particle board. That was nearly 3 years ago, however, so the time has definitely come to finally get this at least covered up so it looks better. This bed is nearly 15 years old at this point, and it's an assemble yourself kind of style. We bought it within 3 days of moving to Arizona, and that was back in 2011. It's made of particle board and MDF and has been assembled, disassembled, and reassembled just one too many times already for not having threaded inserts. This thing is definitely ready to be retired, but I want to save up for a really nice bedroom set once we move next year. So, for now, I'm just gonna patch this up and leave it imperfect, but like I said, let's just say better. I used DAP plastic wood filler to fill the gouges. The headboard also had a large area missing. I put a piece of masking tape underneath on the rail, and I used that same wood filler plus a Japan scraper to smooth on a thick coat. Then I left everything to dry. We live in a rental and the blinds were provided for us here when we moved in, but they're old and cracking and most of our windows have at least 1 blind that looks like this. I use Scotch tape on either side and I'll wrap it around so it can hold the 2 pieces together. It's not a permanent fix, but it definitely works for a rental. Okay, next project is this cutting board. I actually use this as a cutting board underneath when I'm doing like crafts and stuff. So sometimes with like my X-Acto, but usually if it's something more heavy duty, like some kind of saw or whatever, this will protect my plastic table surface. First, I'll use my Japan scraper to get all of this hot glue off. Then I'll come in with a 100 grit. I have had this for quite some time. Got this in Arizona. It's rocking and that drives me insane, so I want to make sure that everything is like leveled out and flat. I've got a level, so I'm just going to be able to Make sure that there's no light coming through underneath when I'm done. I can't hook my sander up to the vacuum. We discovered recently a death had occurred inside the air vents of my car. I don't know what it was. Mr. CCDIY is out there trying to figure it out for the last couple of days. Thank you, babe. But anyway, I'm not going to use the vacuum again attached to this until I get a new filter now, because I have no idea what died and I'm not taking that chance. I will open the garage door and then all that sanding dust will just hopefully go flying right out. I removed the glue blobs, started to sand, and so this is a ridiculous waste of time. As I started doing this, I'm realizing there's this huge crack that goes all the way down. There's this huge crack split and like it's pulling tons out. Also, you can see like just with my fingernail it moves. There's this huge gouge. If I was going to actually flatten this thing out, I need like a planer, a belt sander, I don't know, joint, or literally anything other than just this sander. I'm skipping this, so I'm going to keep my eye out next time I'm at the thrift store to see if I can get a new one of these, because this is 100% just going to be scrap wood now, and I don't know, maybe you'll see me build something out of this. Maybe I'll build some kind of wall hanging or something. We'll see what happens with this, but it is not going to be me sanding it. Actually, one thing I am going to sand, though, while I'm out here, I just have these 3 makeup brushes that have been peeling for a while, and I just want to get as much of this off as possible. That it's coming off just being here. Unfortunately, that's got to go, but I'm just going to do those really quick, and that should be the end of my sanding today. Thank goodness. I sanded off the failing finish with a 100 grit to speed things up. This is definitely sketchy how I held these things, but I couldn't really chuck a makeup brush into my drill to spin it, so I did what I could with the orbital, and I brought them to my studio to finish. One brush needed to be glued back together. Then I ran a 220 grit lightly over each handle. To seal them and protect them from future water use, I used Varathane's triple thick water-based top coat in a satin finish. I gave them 2 coats using a fine grit sanding paper in between. I did my second coat off camera and I left things to dry for a couple of hours. Back to Mr. CCDIY's dresser, I dusted out the drawers of any dust or hair, measured the drawers for width, measured for depth, then transferred those measurements to the drawer liner, and I cut it using a brand new X-Acto blade on my self-healing cutting mat. I'm using this liner that I picked up on Amazon. It's meant for kitchen cabinets, but this stuff can be used anywhere you need a barrier. It's thin and flexible, almost like rubber, but with a slick surface. It isn't permanently installed, but this should last a long time. I used this measured liner to create the other 3. installed, and left them to unfurl for a while I got back to work on the bed. With the filler dry, I could sand. I didn't want to have to mask off the whole bed, so I used a plastic trash bag and I taped it onto the rail along the backside. That left the opening right under my wood filler. This took about 5 minutes to sand flat, but I'll speed things up for you. At the foot of the bed, my vacuum worked like a charm to catch all the dust. Then I get to mixing some paint to match. My goal is definitely not perfection here, but more like putting lipstick on a raccoon. I'm using acrylics, which will definitely dry a different sheen. These will be flat, but again, perfection isn't the goal, just better. I had one last thing to touch up. We use this cardboard cabinet as extended storage, and my nail art supplies are on this shelf. I got a little excited putting stuff away one time, and this plaster chipped when I smashed it with the plastic container that you see here in the background. Nothing a quick dab of close enough colors can't mask though. And that's it. While I put the drawer back, let me say thanks for being here and watching. I love comments and likes and shares and subscribers, so feel free to do any or all of that wherever any or all of that happens. I'll show some before and afters next, so make sure you stay tuned. But like I said, that's all the work I've got for today, so later peeps!